this is Pistol Black here, and welcome to the Skulls General Reviews, in which today I'm going to be taking a look at the Lethbridge Stewart book Times Squared, which is the opener for Series 3 of the Lethbridge Stewart books. There have been 3 series so far, with the 4th starting up, the first of which was The Forgotten Son, The Schizoid Earth, Beast of Fang Rock, Mutually Assured Domination, and then for Series 2 it was The Grandfather Infestation, Moonblink, and what's that other one called? The Showstoppers. And then for this series it was Times Squared, Blood of Atlantis, and Mind of Stone. As you can see, I have now got the complete set of Series 3, which is really nice. And the next series of Lethbridge Stewart book, Series 4, which started up with Night of the Intelligence, commenced this Skulls General Reviews instalment by taking a look at the presentation of the opener of this trilogy. So for the cover itself, we have, from the classic era of Doctor Who, Lethbridge Stewart, the sort of Lethbridge Stewart logo, Times Squared, Rick Cross, forward by Terry Molloy, who obviously is the infamous resurrection of the Daleks, revelation of the Daleks, and remembrance of the Daleks, Davros, as well as the Big Finish, sort of Davros. In audio it's like Davros and Curse of Davros, I think. And then for the sort of cover itself, with the sort of cliche sort of circle layout on most Lethbridge Stewart books, as you can clearly see. All Lethbridge Stewart books are like this, with the sort of basis for the cover being a circle. We have, encased in that circle, we have a sort of panicked, almost sort of chaos-like, also very busy sort of, almost chaotic looking sort of New York street, with a entrance to the subway there, a pyramid of the Yeti control spheres, hundreds and hundreds of rats swarming, and a hairless Yeti covered in the rats, which I'll get into a bit later on in this book review. Rick Cross, forward by Terry Molloy, and all of this is set against this sort of nice sort of avocado green with sort of speckles of different colours of whites and little bits of greys and browns. Quite a nice and eye-catching cover. And then for the spine of this Lethbridge Stewart book, we have the Lethbridge Stewart logo, Lethbridge Stewart, Times Squared, Rick Cross, Candy Jar, with all sort of continuation of that sort of avocado sort of colour scheme. Like all series 3 Lethbridge Stewart books have, as you can see, and all of the other Lethbridge Stewart series are all sort of colour coded in terms of their covers. So like Series 1 is sort of a parchment colour, Series 2 is sort of more of a turquoise, and the just recently started Series 4 is a bit of a lilac colour. For the back, we have the hairless Yeti, with all of those sort of rats swarming around it. Forgot to mention there's a nice bit of sort of blood on the sort of Yeti, as you can see, just generally sort of splattered on it, which is sort of a nice bit of foreboding to the bloodshed in the story. And then for the back, other than the Yeti and the colour scheme, we have a quote from Doctor Who magazine, the synopsis, cover by Martin Baines. Visit candyjarbooks.co.uk, Candy Jar logo, then you've got the ISBN, and there's a lot of seagulls outside. And then there you've got the original prices, UK $8.99 and US $12.95, with the barcode. And now for the synopsis on this Lethbridge Stewart adventure. The Brigadier is such an integral part of Doctor Who mythos, it seems right and proper he now has his own series, Doctor Who magazine. When Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, his fiancée Sally Wright, and his nephew Owen Vine embark on a much-needed holiday in New York City, the last thing they expect to find is a puzzling mystery involving coma patients, a stranger from a distant land, and a dark menace lurking in the bowels of the city's labyrinth subway system. Before long, they're battling an ancient evil, pursuing a deadly campaign of terror that could bring Manhattan under its control and the world to its knees. a series of novels from the classic era of Doctor Who featuring Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, based on the characters and concepts created by Mervyn Haseman and Henry Lincoln. And now for the sort of interior of the book. We have Lethbridge Stewart, Time Squared, based on BBC television serials by Mervyn Haseman and Henry Lincoln. Rick Cross, forward by Terry Malloy. Candy Jar Books, logo Cardiff, a Russell and Frankham Allen series, 2016, the year that this book was published. Various copyright stuff, dedications, and then after that we have me fumbling for the page, the forward by Terry Malloy, and then after that we have the start of this Lethbridge Stewart book. This is a 273 page long Lethbridge Stewart book, spread across, actually maybe around 280 actually, because as it's spread across a prologue, an epilogue and 17 core chapters. But after that we have acknowledgements, a post-credits scene, which is quite interesting, and then there we've got also available from Candy Jar Books, Lethbridge Stewart Moonblink, The Showstoppers, The Grandfather Infestation I will be reviewing soon, and coming soon from Candy Jar Books is Gangster, written by Philip Martin, who's the sort of person famous for writing the Doctor Who 80s TV stories, Vengeance on Varos and Mind Warp. Both are great in my personal opinion. Anyways, with the presentation of this Lethbridge Stewart book out of the way with, what's the general consensus and my own personal thoughts and opinions on Time Squared. As for the general consensus of this Lethbridge Stewart outing, it has an average rating of 4.11 out of 5 on Goodreads, with positive reviews almost 100%, with mostly 4-star and 5-star ratings. Do I agree or disagree with the general consensus? Let us find out. Is this a great intelligent story? Yes. Is this a Yeti story? Arguably. Debatably. No. In the original The Abominable Snowmen and The Web of Fear, the Yetis were at the front, being the main baddies, with the Great Intelligence as the mastermind villain. Here is very much both for the Great Intelligence here. The Yetis are in this, but they are very much secondary. Something like Genesis of the Daleks, where Davros is at the front and the Daleks are at the back, lurking in the shadows. Continuity-wise, it's great. The book opens up with Travers chasing after the quote-unquote real Yeti he found at the very end of The Abominable Snowmen in the prologue of this book, which in turn leads him to another Yeti cave, within which he discovers or bears witness to a group of approximately 12 Yeti, which then split up with a batch to London and a batch to New York. This is immediately set up for the Abominable Snowmen. Not only does it also set up this book, but it also gives an explanation as to how the Yetis were in the London Underground in The Web of Fear, which I don't think The Web of Fear actually did. I could be wrong about that. The book also ends with a prologue and a post-credits scene, the first of which is very mysterious, with 2 anomalous figures watching Lethbridge Stewart and company go, which in my opinion quite possibly forebodes to another Lethbridge Stewart novel, which I don't quite know, but I'm imagining that is what happens, as I haven't read Blood of Atlantis or Mind of Stone yet. The second of which, being the post-credit scene, shows Travers right after the events of this book and stumbles across this other character, which acts as a teaser for the short story Travers and Wells, written by Glenn McCoy. In other words, the same person that actually wrote Time Lash. As an adventure, I can sum it up as being an at heart retread of The Web of Fear, but on a grander scale with a lot more grit to it, and enough elements to make it something completely different. One of the differences of which is the fact that this is more of a great intelligence story than a Yeti story, such as it possessing a lot of people and controlling the secondary Yetis, which at times have rats instead of fur as seen on the cover, with the intelligence which intelligence also possesses. The main possessed character of which is Gemwa. All of these lead to some quite epic horror scenes, such as vast masses of rats swarming the New York subway, which, as you can see by the cover, is sort of given a little taster for on the cover. And I will say all of these horror scenes with the rats swarming and stuff is a probable very deliberate sort of homage to James Herbert, who is this famous horror writer who has written a lot of horror books, and is one of the most famous ones being The Rats, which I listened to the audiobook for a couple of years ago, and I think it was set in the London Underground and has lots of scenes similar to what there is in Times Square with the London Underground, with the rats swarming and stuff. So I think Times Square is a very sort of deliberate sort of Web of Fear mixed with James Herbert The Rats homage. This is an overall bleak and gripping novel that has some great continuity and awesome horror moments. The horror moments in this book are so good to the point where I practically consider the Web of Fear to be pretty much passive in comparison.